It was 20 years ago, in 2002, that my mum and my grandma first visited New York City. And it was from then that my mum and I kind of decided, well, probably my mum more than me because I was about 3, but it was kind of decided that, you know, we would one day go on a trip to New York. In my lifetime, I've been lucky enough to travel to some of the greatest cities in the world, some amazing places, some of which I've documented on this channel before. I was born a stone's throw away from London, and it will always be home to me. And I know I'm biased, but the creative energy that London has and the communities and the people that adorn it are something that I absolutely adore. It's something that will always make London feel home for me. So much of my work and so much of my career is a testament or inspired by London and the people and the experiences of living in a city like London. I now live in Manchester and I've lived here for about 5 years, and it's quite a similar city to London. It has a similar creative energy and people alike. It's a much smaller city but equally as vibrant. I definitely have a tendency to romanticize cities. From living and being around them all of my life, a city's definitely where I feel most at home. I definitely believe that different cities tap into different elements of your personality, of yourself. And I think that's why traveling can feel so freeing and invigorating and inspiring. For me, New York has a charm about it that I haven't yet experienced in any other city that I've visited. And over the next few weeks, I'm going to be putting out videos that kind of show you guys what I got up to in New York and some of the photos that I took, some of the experiences that I had whilst I was over there. But in today's video, we're just going to talk about some of my observations of the city that truly never sleeps. A true 24-hour city with bright lights that Cinestill could only dream of. At 10 p.m, I was sat in an Irish bar watching the Super Bowl with my mum. My mum is Irish, hence the Irish bar. And by 11 p.m, I had a shoot lined up for the next morning in the West Village because a stylist messaged me on Instagram, and within an hour we had it sorted. I think that is really a testament to the energy of New York. It's that collaborative nature, it's that go and get it kind of attitude that I feel is probably depicted a lot of New York, but I didn't know if it was something that was romanticized and kind of exaggerated, or if it was something that actually existed within the city. I think that when you visit somewhere like New York, you have a lot of preconceptions. It's one of those movie set cities, isn't it? It's the ones that you've definitely seen on TV, definitely seen in the cinema, and you have these ideas surrounding what you think it will be like. And I think as a photographer, that's particularly interesting because you see these images of this city, you see the cinematography that is surrounded by this, very New York scene. So to go to a city and it be everything that you kind of expected it to be is quite a bizarre scenario, I think. As much as I say I love cities and I've fallen in love with a lot of cities, there have also been cities that I have felt as though they didn't live up to the expectation. And I think when we're talking about expectations as well, there's, people's experiences, people's perceptions, people's own personalities come into play as to how they actually experience a city. I won't experience one city the same way as you will, and there's a lot of personal kind of feelings that come into play when it comes to understanding what a city is really like. Something that surprised me about New York, maybe naively, was the absolute vastness of it. But I think there's something quite inspiring about a city that is that big and that houses so many people and so many different ideas and energies. And of course, as a photographer, it was amazing in terms of backdrops. These large outdoor public spaces, from parks to just really wide streets. It wasn't short of places to take photos, for sure. And as a photographer, there were also a lot of other inspiring materials that went beyond just the architecture and the makeup of the city. So for example, they had a street exhibition. It was called Photoville, and a little bit similar to the street exhibition that I showed you guys in Glasgow. The exhibition was a collaboration between Leica and National Geographic. And I always love these sorts of exhibitions because I think that they really bring photography and they bring art into the zeitgeist, into the everyday person's view almost. You know, you don't have to go out and look for photography, it comes to you, that kind of idea. It's something that I wish I saw more in cities like Manchester and cities like London. Whilst I was there, I also visited a bookstore that had been widely recommended to me, a Dashwood Books. It was a really quaint little bookstore, but with kind of like a breadth of books, like everything you can imagine that was photography related, they had it in there. And the staff were like incredibly knowledgeable. They really knew what they were talking about. And also, you know, you come in and you say, I'm into this kind of photography, I'm into fashion, I'm into street, and they were able to recommend you what you might want to be looking at. So whilst I was in Dashwood Books, I picked up 2 books. The first of which I haven't actually taken out of its wrapper until this video because I wanted to keep it in pristine condition. Obviously I looked at it in store, but I haven't seen it since. And that is this book of Polaroids taken in New York. So let's open it up and have a look. So a lot of this book is depicting kind of like skate culture within the city, very authentic, very kind of candid. So most of the Polaroids in the book were taken in the mid-90s in San Francisco and New York. And then this was the second book that I picked up. It's called Tomboy, and I absolutely love this book. It is very reminiscent of Rosie Matheson's Boys Project. You know, that idea of capturing masculinity, boyhood, manhood in its most vulnerable form. I think something that I love in portrait photography is that authenticity, and I think you can probably tell that from the 2 books that I did end up picking up. And then of course I can't forget to mention the film and photography shops that I visited. So during my time in New York, I used 2 stores, the first being Photodom in Brooklyn, which was widely recommended to me on Instagram and Twitter. I ended up having all of my film developed and scanned there. The guys in the lab were really helpful, really knowledgeable, and they were able to ship all my negatives back to the UK for me. I'm not great at traveling with film. I worry a little bit. You know, I took a lot of film out there with me, and when I was at Heathrow, they wouldn't let me put it through to be hand checked. I had to go through the scanner, and things like that just worry me a little bit. So to be able to get my film developed and scanned out there and then the negatives sent home, it really did take a lot of stress out of the whole process for me. I'm going to be dedicating the next few videos to particular rolls of film that I shot. So I'm not going to put those images in today's video just because, you know, you'll have to wait and watch the next video to see those. But I did shoot a lot of film and a lot of digital content. So I will roll through that at the end of the video so you can have a look at what I did document during my time in New York. But aside from Photodom, which honestly was a great little quaint photo lab, they sold film and they sold, you know, any kind of like collateral, camera straps, everything, and then had their lab as well. So I definitely, if you are in Brooklyn, I would recommend heading over and checking those guys out. The other store that I went to was B&H. We don't have anything like B&H in the UK really. Like if you haven't been to B&H, it's a massive photography video store that has everything that you can think of, from like drones to lights to film, just like kind of like a paradise for photographers. So I bought quite a bit of film, mainly Cinestill, in there. I hope London is listening because we need something like B&H here. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to roll through some of the photos from my trip to New York. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. If you're not already subs and you don't want to miss the next couple of New York videos that I've got coming out, which will include some photos that won't be seen in this video, then please do me a favor and hit subscribe. I will see you guys in the next one.